Hey, what's up, everybody? Are you excited to learn some Python? Yeah, hopefully you said yeah. If not, then I don't know what you're doing here, because we're going to be learning some Python in the next video. Because this video, we have to talk about something that is really, really important and that you need to know before you start doing any coding, and that is how to navigate the command line and the terminal. And that's because you need to be able to navigate those in order to run your programs. And what is the point of writing a program if you're not going to run it? If that's all you wanted to do, then you might as well just write a short story. But you're not writing a short story, you're writing a program, and what makes it a program is that you can run it. So let's learn how to run it. So learning how to use a terminal or the command line interface is something that takes many, many hundreds and hundreds of years. So we're not going to learn the entire thing because I do not have that much spare time, and neither do you. Let's go. All right. So we have, in order to launch the terminal, you can just open up your little magnifying glass and type terminal, and there it is. It's open. So if you're on Windows, you will not be able to follow along with this first video because the terminal on Windows is kind of strange. You have command prompt and you have PowerShell, which are both kind of like terminals, but they're both a little different, and it's just kind of confusing. And I don't have a Windows computer, so I cannot guide you through that. Good news is that there are hundreds of guides out there showing you exactly how to do what I'm going to do here on Windows. So hopefully you can follow those along. It's a pretty straightforward process. You can, if you'd like, just watch this video, and every time you see a command, if it doesn't work for you on command line or PowerShell or whatever you're using on Windows, you can just Google, how do I do this command in Windows? And you will find 500 people who ask the same question on Stack Overflow, and one of them will have a lot of upvotes me at the top of the search results for you. And if you're on Linux, if you're one of those people, you can follow along with me. This should all be very, very similar. Mac and Linux have very many similarities. They both have that underlying bash shell. So this should be pretty useful to you too. So to summarize, if you're on Windows, too bad. If you're not, let's go. And just to clarify, if you're on Windows, the rest of this will be very useful. Everything after this one video will be completely cross-platform, and I will no longer discriminate against you for being on Windows. But right now, it just works differently. Alright, that's enough talking. Now let's get to the fun stuff. That's right, there is fun stuff. Okay, so this is our terminal window. So what is a terminal window? Well, it's a place where you can type text and be like a super cool hacker. You can like, oh, look at how fast you can type. Or you can use it to actually do things that are useful. So the best way to think of the terminal window is sort of like you think of a Finder window or a Windows Explorer window. Um, and that's because that's basically what this is. It's the text-based version of that. So right now we are actually in a directory the same way that you would be in Finder. So right now, if you look at Finder, we are in my user directory. My name is Nick, so my user directory is called Nick. And right here, you can see which directory we are in by doing the command pwd, stands for present working directory. Press enter, and you'll see we are inside of this folder. This is a folder that we are in right now. So if you want to go to a different folder, well, first let's see what the available folders to go into are. So let's do ls, and this shows you all the folders that you can go into. You might notice if we go here, these are the same folders that are all right here in our Finder, because this is the same file system, it's the same computer, it's just two different representations of the same system. But this gives us way more power because there are thousands of commands that you can do from the terminal, while you don't really have that functionality from the GUI. So this is, so these are all the folders we have. Let's see, we want to be a developer, right? So let's go into the developer folder. And the way you do that is by using the cd command. So cd stands for change directory, and you tell it which directory to go into by saying cd space and then the name. So let's go into developer, press enter. Now we are in. If you do pwd again, now you will see that we are in developer. So now let's do the same thing. Let's see what is in developer. So you do ls, and this shows you all the folders that are in developer. So there's a Python folder here. That seems pretty useful. So let's go and say cd python. And you might have noticed right there, I didn't actually type all of Python. If you type enough that that you knows you're talking about this folder, like for example here I typed P, and no other folder starts with a P, so it can autocomplete for you if you press tab. Look at that. Look at how useful that is. Let me do that one more time just for fun. Bam. Cool. Great. That was so cool. That's the coolest thing I've done all day. All right, let's keep going. So now you do cd python, enter, and now if you do pwd, surprise, we are in Python. So let's do ls. There's nothing in here. That is really sad. So let's actually go ahead and make a new directory, because we want to have a different directory for each video just to keep things organized. So let's go ahead and make a directory called L1, just the letter L and then the number 1, no spaces, anything like that. Let's keep it nice and simple. So the way you make a directory is by using the make directory command. The make directory command is mkdir. And I know these are a lot of commands. Don't worry about memorizing all of them right now. If you need to write them down just so you know what they are, please feel free to do so. And this mkdir command is what you would probably have to do if you didn't already have a developer folder or Python folder, any of those, which I doubt you would have. It would have been kind of weird if you happened to have the same exact structure as me, because these are things I did make beforehand. So we have mkdir space, and then you give it the name of the directory. So we said we want to call it L1, capital L, number 1, press enter. What did that actually do? Well, now if we do ls to see what's in our folder, you'll see it's no longer empty. Now L1 is in there. And L1's a new folder, so now we can cd into L1. Look at that. Now if we do pwd, you'll see that we are in users nick developer Python L1. Now, what if we decide we actually don't want a different folder for each lesson? Because, you know, that's like a lot of folders. There can be a lot of lessons. You don't want that. So we want to get rid of this folder. So what you can actually do is, first we want to go back to Python. We want to undo the fact that we cd'd into L1. So to do that is, what you do is you want to change directory. So you do cd, but you can't just type Python because it's going to look for a folder called Python in this directory. And that does not exist. So what you have to do is you have to do cd ... and then press enter. So what ... does is that's basically the name given to the folder just above where you are. So it basically just takes you back one level. So now if we do pwd, you'll see we are back in Python. So if I do cd ... again, and then we do ls, we'll see Python's a folder here, and that is because we are now just in developer. So let's go back into Python, and we want to get rid of this L1 folder. So for that, you do rmdir for remove directory, just like mkdir is for make directory, and then you pass it the name. There you go. Now ls, it's gone. Now let's get to the fun stuff. Let's make a very, very, very simple Python script. In fact, let's make a completely empty Python script. So this isn't going to do anything. It's going to be really boring. Sorry to bore you, but it's what I do. So right now I opened up a text editor called Sublime. You can use Notepad. You can use whatever you want. It's really just use a text editor. I recommend either Sublime or Notepad++. Or Text Wrangler if you're pretty good, or if you want to get really fancy, you can look up best Python IDEs. But really, something like Sublime or Notepad++, not to be confused with Notepad, which you should not use because it's pretty bad. Anyway, before I get too carried away with my text editor talk, we're not even going to write anything in here because we're not going to learn how to program in Python yet. What we're going to do is we're just going to save. I cannot save to untitled, permission denied. I'm not trying to save to untitled. Right, so I'm going to save as, and let's go ahead and store this exactly where we were. So this is a good chance for you to see that what we did in the terminal is actually exactly the same thing as what we have in our GUI, in our Finder window. So from here we go to Developer, Python, and here we want to save it. Let's call this, let's call it empty, because it's an empty file, there's nothing in it. .py. So .py is the Python extension. It's a file extension that tells you that a program, or that a file is a Python script. It's a Python program. The same way that if you have .txt, it tells you it's a text file. If you have .doc or .docx, it tells you it's a Microsoft Word file. It's the same exact thing. .py tells you it's a Python file. So let's go ahead and save it. And we just saved that in our Python folder, right? So now let's go ahead and do ls, and there it is, empty.py. So how do we run this? Well, you run it using your Python. So you have Python installed already, actually. And if you want to see where it's installed for some reason, you can use the command which Python. So for me, it's installed here. Doesn't matter where it's installed. Don't worry about it. By default, it should already be installed. If you're on Mac, I'm pretty sure for Linux, it's installed on almost every distribution. For Windows, consult your guidebook, because I am sorry, I just don't know. Anyway, we are here. So now how do we actually run this? So now all you have to do is just say Python, and then type your name of the file, empty.py, press enter, and we just ran it. You just ran your very first program. It doesn't do a whole lot, doesn't do anything, but your computer just opened up this file and it executed all of the code in it. It read all 0 lines of code and it executed them all. And this is extremely boring right now because this doesn't do anything. But now all we have to do is just add stuff to this, add executable code, and then you run Python and then the name of it, and your code will run. And that is pretty exciting. So that is it for this video, now that I've left you on that wonderful cliffhanger. In the next video, we are going to turn empty.py into do something.py. So stay tuned for that.